In the heart of a dense, ancient forest, there stood a grand mansion, its walls adorned with ivy and its windows dark and foreboding. This was the home of the infamous Countess Alara, a woman of unparalleled beauty and unimaginable cruelty. It was said that she had made a pact with the dark forces, and in return, she was granted eternal life and the power to summon the spirits of the dead. On the night of the full moon, the Countess would host a grand ball, inviting the most sinister and macabre creatures to her mansion. The guests were not the living, but the undead, the ghouls, and the ghosts who roamed the earth in search of mischief and mayhem. As the night of the ball approached, the Countess prepared her mansion for the arrival of her guests. She adorned the halls with cobwebs and draped the chandeliers with black velvet. The air was thick with the scent of decay and the whispers of the dead. The night of the ball arrived, and the ghouls began to gather. They emerged from the shadows, their eyes glowing with an eerie light, their laughter echoing through the forest. The Countess stood at the entrance, her beauty enhanced by the moonlight, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. As the guests entered, they were greeted by the Countess with a chilling smile. Among them were the ghostly apparitions of long-dead soldiers, their armor tarnished and their faces twisted in agony. There were the ghastly ghouls, their skin rotting and their eyes sunken, feasting on the remains of the living. And there were the spirits of the damned, their souls trapped in eternal torment, their cries filling the air with despair. The ball began with a dance, the Countess leading the way. Her movements were graceful and mesmerizing, her eyes locked with those of her guests. The ghouls and ghosts followed suit, their macabre dance a grotesque parody of life. As the night wore on, the guests grew bolder, their laughter growing louder, their appetites for chaos and destruction insatiable. They feasted on the remains of the living, their hunger never sated. The Countess watched with delight, her smile never faltering. In the midst of the revelry, a young woman stumbled into the mansion, her eyes wide with fear. She had been lost in the forest, and now she found herself in the midst of the most terrifying creatures imaginable. The Countess approached her, her voice like the whisper of the wind. "Welcome, my dear," she said, her smile never wavering. "You have stumbled upon our little gathering. Pray, join us in our dance." The young woman, trembling with fear, could only nod in response. The Countess took her hand, and together they joined the dance. The ghouls and ghosts watched with interest, their laughter growing louder. As the night wore on, the young woman began to feel the effects of the Countess's enchantment. Her fear subsided, replaced by a sense of euphoria. She danced with the ghouls and ghosts, her laughter joining theirs. But as the night drew to a close, the young woman's enchantment began to fade. She looked around, her eyes wide with horror. The ghouls and ghosts had grown more sinister, their laughter more chilling. The Countess stood before her, her smile now a cruel smirk. "You have been a delightful guest," she said, her voice like the hiss of a serpent. "But now, it is time for you to join us in eternal torment." The young woman tried to flee, but the ghouls and ghosts blocked her path. She screamed, her voice echoing through the mansion. But it was too late. The Countess had claimed another soul, and the night of the ghouls' ball continued on, a never-ending cycle of death and despair. And so, the legend of the Countess Alara and her ghastly guests lived on, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks within the hearts of men and the power of the undead. The mansion remained, a testament to the horrors that had taken place within its walls, a warning to all who dared to venture into the forest on the night of the full moon.